Well, thank you all for having me tonight. Are most or all of you residents of Monona? Well, as you're probably well aware, we started servicing your community July 1st or January 1st of this year. Made a lot of sense for us, made a lot of sense for the city, not only logistically, but just where we're located. And, our corporate office is actually in Monona. We're just on the other side of the highway, right on Southtown Road, basically right before the tracks. What's kind of neat about the company is that I sit about 10 feet away from the owners, who sit about 10 feet away from our entire customer service team. Our sales team below us is our operations, our mechanics, our controllers. Everything is under one roof and right here in town. If there's any issues, any problems, just the speed of how things get remedied moves so much faster than most places. So it's been a really nice treat. And like I kind of joke, and I was talking with Dan's people at the city, if you pick up the phone, a human will actually answer it if you call us, which is really nice. If you got any questions, for some reason you get the voicemail, I promise you somebody will get a hold of you really quickly. With that being said, again, thank you for having me. Expert might be a stretch, but I'll do my best to answer any questions. And just want to tell you a little bit more what happens to your recycling. A lot of people just kind of, hope it gets recycled when it gets to the end of the curb. And I'm just going to kind of walk you through the process that we do at our material recovery facility. I won't go through the agenda too much. Basically, just going to tell you about us a little bit and talk about our Kip Street station. That's our MRF, brilliantly named because it's on Kip Street. That's just kind of what happens. We're going to show you a little video of the process and kind of some things that cause contaminations and kind of what we can recycle that a lot of companies can't, some expanded list of recyclables that we offer. And then just talk about some resources and give you a quick summary of what Monona is sending to the landfill every year and what we're currently recycling. And then obviously I'm sure people have a lot of questions. I'll do my best to answer them what I can, and any that I can, I promise you I will get an answer for. If you like the presentation, my name is Todd. If it's horrible, my name is Ross. But just a quick background on Pelletieri. Current owners are third generation in the trash business. It's our name of our company doesn't ever change. The current company as it is has been around for 45 years. Started in one community, and we've now grown real organically as we seem fit and have the bandwidth to do so. We're into about 40 different communities right now, and we're currently servicing about 76,000 homes every day, basically around Dane County and south central Wisconsin. But yeah, it's something we're really proud of, and we hope to keep that with Monona. Of all the communities that we do service with, Pelletieri has a 100% retention rate. We have never lost a community because of our service, customer service, and the quality of what we do with our recycling. We've maintained every community that we've ever done work with. We're really proud of that. And like I mentioned earlier, we really pride ourselves on our customer service, how we treat members of the community when they call in. Our Kip Street station, our MRF, as you can tell, we're way down here. It's just off of Stoughton Road. That's where we process all of the recyclables that we get. Not only do we process all the communities that we recycle there, we do all of Dane County, the City of Madison's recycling as well. And through our partnership with the City of Madison is what enabled us to build this state-of-the-art facility about a decade ago. So we do, and we help anybody that brings stuff in. I'm sure you heard about some fires in other communities at some landfills and some recycling centers. We've had them bring and process other people's recycling too. And again, I just kind of mentioned our corporate offices are just north of the tracks there, just off of the Beltline. So as you can see, we're maybe 6 miles from here to where all your recycling actually goes. Eventually it goes elsewhere, but that's where it's processed and cleaned through our system. And I apologize, I don't have my bifocals on, so there'll be a lot of glasses on and off today. Our Kip Street, we're constantly doing innovations, improvements there. We're able to sort kind of your OCC, which is old corrugated containers, better, constantly upgrading. This is all sorted through the use of robotics, artificial intelligence, lasers, lights, little jet forces of air to separate all the recycling. It's pretty amazing. I'm going to show you a video here shortly. But we've added so many things to our system. We got a grant from the Paper Cup Institute that allows us to recycle kind of the wax line, the paper cups that you used to always have to throw away, your Starbucks cups, things of that nature. That can all be recycled now. Your milk cartons, your juice cartons that weren't recyclable before because of the waxy kind of finish on those. That is part of our additional list of recyclables that we take now that used to not be recyclable. And again, we're constantly updating that technology. We're actually in the process now of working on some heat sensors. Batteries and fires have been a huge issue in the recycling. And when you have so much paper and product there, something gets run over, pinched by a battery, starts a fire. If you walk away with nothing here tonight, please, for the love of God, don't put batteries in your recycling ever, under no circumstance. Especially like the lithium ones, the rechargeables, cell phone batteries, computer batteries. So we've actually put in heat sensors so we can kind of proactively prevent any fires from happening after we've seen what's going on at some different facilities around the country right now. It's really bad. And kind of touching base on the expanded list of recyclables again. And this is, again, when I say recycling, I'm talking about what we are physically taking through the single stream process. There's a lot of things in your everyday life that'll have that recycling logo on it that can't go in your recycling bin. The single stream process, as you all remember, you used to have to separate your clear glass from your colored glass, from your paper, from your aluminum, from your tin. That's hence the name of the single stream. You don't have to separate that. We do that for you, and that's what we do at that facility. But even with that being said, there's just certain things that we can't recycle. However, we are very proud of the things that we can. I had mentioned the paper milk, juice cartons. We can recycle small appliances. You got a broken toaster, we can recycle that. Throw that in your recycle bin. Old pots and pans you don't want, throw that in your recycle bin. These are all things that people would never think to put in there. We're one of the few places that take shredded bags of paper. As long as they're in kind of a clear bag. People always wonder what to do with your grocery bags that you get, so you don't want to throw them away. It's kind of a pain sometimes, but as long as you got shredded paper or kind of tied in a bag, as part of the sorting process, those do get pulled out and recycled. With that being said, we do not want your plastic grocery bags in your recycling. That's probably the number one contaminant that we'll get in later. Unfortunately, that is just not recyclable through the single stream process. But we get asked a lot, what actually happens to my recyclables when it gets sorted at our facility. Our glass is sent to Strategic Materials, where it's made into new glass bottles. Strategic Materials is one of the biggest glass remanufacturing companies in the country and recognized Pelletteria as having the cleanest glass of anybody in the United States that they do business with. They're a big advocate of ours, something we're really proud of. We send 0 recyclable glass to the landfill. We recycle 100% of recyclable glass. And when I say recyclable glass, I mean things like a kitchen glass or a window in your house is not recyclable glass. That does have to go. But we produce the cleanest glass of just about anybody in the country. It's sorted by color, and we do so there's always a home for it, which is why we try to eliminate contaminants as much as possible. Because if we start having bad end product to send to these companies, they're not going to want to take it. And then that does increase what's going into the landfill. Fortunately, that's not the case with glass and most of our items. And I just put on here a fun fact, glass is one of those things that can be recycled almost an infinite amount of times, which a lot of people didn't know. I didn't know until I started working here. The paper and the cardboard, the paper and the OCC, there's about 3 or 4 different processors we use. Most of Wisconsin, we do have another plant in Indiana. But that turnover is so fast And I know this sounds corny, but it's the truth. You could literally have an Amazon box on your doorstep tonight, have it picked up on Friday, I believe is your service day here, and literally within a couple of weeks have that back on your front doorstep in the form of another box again. They just do an amazing job sorting and cleaning those. The metal that we recycle stays right here in Madison. There's a place called All Metals. That's where you send all of our like plumbing fixtures. You got a brake drum you drop off at somebody. We don't want a brake drum in your single stream because it's so heavy and big, but it's all the metal that gets recycled. It stays right here in Madison and goes to All Metal Recycling. Aluminum, there's multiple locations for that. So we kind of, based on the market, that gets sent to who's, well, going to give us the most money for it. We still need to, hire good people and keep the lights on. But yeah, no, the aluminum has been pretty standard over the years. But the plastics, this is the one where is kind of an always changing market. Because sometimes there's just not a home for certain plastics, and unfortunately those do need to go into the landfill. But we take them all through the single stream, and we try to find a home for everything we take in. As we got mentioned here, our PETs, the number ones, we're able to retain those with a 98% capture rate through our sorting system, along with new bottles. We work with Mohawk Carpet. We send a lot to Mohawk, and it's made into new carpet. A lot of our HDPE number twos, those go to Michigan and Alabama, where they're made into new colored bottles. Along with those, they also work with some companies where they're made into like fake wood, lumber for decking, storm drain tiles, kind of a lot of farm draining as well. So those are all being used, and although those aren't getting recycled over and over at that point, they're getting made into a product that can last for decades. The polypropylene is the number fives. Those are the second most widely produced plastic. And those are sent down to, we have a place in Alabama and Missouri where those are basically made into new polypropylene containers. There's a lot of it. It's easy to recycle. The 3 through 7 plastics, depending on there's a home, we work with a company called Brightmark, and they're actually able to break those down into oils, liquid gas, and some other products that they can reuse again. So we're always working with companies to try to find a home for I call them the odd plastics that it's just tough to find a home for sometimes. But like I said, one thing I'm going to show you now, this is a short, like 5-minute video, and I apologize if you guys have seen it before. I've seen it probably 50 times, and I never get tired of it. It basically shows the process of when that's dumped in our facility and how it's sorted through and some of the technology involved. And I might stop it 1 or 2 times to just point out a couple things.
Have you ever wondered what happens to your recyclables after they're collected from your home or business? Please enjoy watching how Pelletary Waste Systems separates and prepares your recyclables so they can be shipped to end users to be made into new products. As recycling trucks arrive at Kip Street Station, they back into the facility and unload recyclable material onto the tipping floor. The loader then piles up the recycling. When the system needs more material to sort, the loader will grab from the pile and load it into the first piece of equipment, the metering bin. The metering bin's function is to produce a constant flow of material, which is essential to allow the sorting equipment to function properly. After the material is metered, it goes up the first conveyor and drops onto the pre-sort station. At the pre-sort station, we have several quality control people who are pulling out recyclable metal objects like pots, pans, and toasters. They're also pulling out recyclable bags of shredded paper. While pulling out these good recyclables, they're also looking for material that is not supposed to be in the recycling. Ropes, water hoses, large non-bottle plastics, trash, diapers, loose plastic bags, and clothing are sometimes found in the recycling, but are not recyclable in this system. Contaminants will often cause good recyclables to become unrecyclable, and that material will go to the landfill. It's very important to only put approved materials into your recycling container so that good recyclables are not contaminated. As material leaves the pre-sort station, it goes up another conveyor and drops into the old corrugated cardboard or OCC screen. As the cardboard moves across the screen, it will be touching multiple discs, allowing it to stay on top of the screen and move forward. Smaller recyclables will fall between these discs, drop down, and move on to the next piece of equipment. Under the OCC screen is a debris roll screen, which acts like a glass breaker and breaks bottled glass into quarter-sized pieces. The broken glass then falls through the debris roll screen and goes into a glass cleanup system that removes pieces of metal and other small non-glass items. After the glass and cardboard is removed, the recyclables move on to the newspaper screen. The newspaper screen uses the same concept as the OCC screen. The steep angle uses gravity to force three-dimensional objects like detergent bottles to bounce backwards and off the screen, while two-dimensional newspaper rides up and over. The third and final screen is the polishing screen. Small papers move up and over the screen onto the paper sorting platform. Gravity will cause three-dimensional materials to bounce backwards and off the back of the screen where they're conveyed onto the next process. Just after the polishing screen, we have a quality control optical sorting machine. This equipment uses light and magnets to identify any metal or plastic material that is flattened enough to act like a piece of paper and remain in the paper stream. Once this material is identified, it is hit with a shot of air and removed from the paper stream so that it can go on to be sorted with all the other plastic and metals. At this point, we have a quality control station to look for any paper that has gotten through the screens. Generally, this would be three-dimensional paper products like phone books, balled-up paper, or juice and milk cartons. These materials are pulled and sorted. Now that all papers have been sorted out of the recyclables, they go to the paper platform. There are several stations where people are removing contaminants, such as plastic films or trash from the paper. By the time the paper gets to the end of the conveyor, it will meet the paper mill's specifications. After all the paper products and glass have been removed and sorted, all that's left in the system is plastics and metals and other non-recyclable materials. A magnet removes all of the tin and steel cans. A second magnet system called an eddy current removes the aluminum cans. Since aluminum doesn't stick to a magnet like tin or steel, this piece of equipment spins a magnet extremely fast, and this produces a magnetic field that repels the aluminum cans, causing them to jump off the conveyor and onto their own storage area. After the metals have been removed, all that is left is number 1 through number 7 plastic bottles and trash that hasn't already been pulled out of the system. These bottles go onto our plastic sorting platform where robotic arms use artificial intelligence to target and pull number 2 plastics like milk jugs, laundry detergent jugs, and shampoo bottles. The bottles that remain on the line go to the optical sorter. This machine shoots a ray of light into the plastic and reads how the light reflects back. A computer analyzes the light and determines if the plastic bottle is a number 1 plastic or a number 3 to 7 plastic bottle. The optic system will then shoot a perfectly controlled blast of air at the bottle, which directs it to either the number 1 plastic storage area or the number 3 to number 7 plastic storage area. Non-plastic material does not have air shot at it and falls onto the residue conveyor, which leads to the trash. Before this material goes in the trash, we have our final quality control station. The robotic arm uses the same artificial intelligence system and is responsible for pulling out any recyclable material that was not properly sorted. Once material is sorted, it's stored in bunkers. The sorted material gets pushed onto a conveyor that goes into the baler. The baler will compact the loose material into a large brick-like bale that uses metal strapping wire to hold it together. These bales are stored in a storage area and ready to be shipped to an end user. A majority of our paper and cardboard goes to paper mills in Wisconsin and Indiana, where it is made into new paper or cardboard products. Tin and steel cans go to local metal recycling companies and are eventually melted down to make new metal products. Aluminum cans are melted down to make new aluminum cans. Our plastics go to processors that shred the material into flakes, which are used to make new plastic bottles or other plastic products like plastic lumber, landscape edging, and drainage tiles. The glass gets color sorted and melted down to make new glass products. Thank you for watching how Pelletary Waste Systems sorts and prepares your recyclables to be shipped to manufacturers so they can be made into new products. Remember to please keep contaminants out of your recycling so they don't contaminate the good recyclables.
I personally think the neatest part of that is the eddy current. I don't know if you can see some of the cans flying off. They spin super fast and almost create a force field that repels the aluminum cans off because the normal magnets don't take them. Way above my pay grade, but it's pretty impressive. I'm over there all the time. We do some tours for different businesses or communities. I know we gave some people from the city a tour kind of when we were discussing doing business with you good folks, so they could kind of see what we're all about as a company. But yeah, no, that was, building's been around for about a decade, and we have the ability to sort up to 300 tons a day go through that facility. We probably average lately, upper twos, but it has the capacity to process 300 tons every day that they're open. And those guys are, that's a tough job, sit there and pull stuff out of the recycling bin. One of the things that we accept that a lot of companies don't is bagged recycling, as long as it's in a clear bag. The reason being, as you notice, some of those guys are pulling up those clear bags, ripping them out. Even if there's perfectly good recycling in it and it's a dark bag, they don't know that, that's going to get thrown away. Because the last thing they want is to open up a bag and have last night's salmon leftovers or dirty diapers on the recycling line. So but it's a service we offer that most do not. A lot of people, it gets sticky and gross in your recycling, but as long as it's in a clear, or mostly clear, so we can tell what's in it, bag, we do accept bagged recyclables. Sir?
What recycling products
That is a great question, and there we go. I'll get into that in a few slides, actually. So thank you for bringing that up. We will absolutely get into that. Kind of tying off of the contamination, I probably could have put these two slides in the other direction, but we deal with a lot of wish cycling, and I know it's kind of a corny term, but it's basically people trying to do the right thing that has a bad outcome. It's basically when you recycle something because you think it should be recycled and you want it to be, but it ends up contaminating perfectly good recycling in the meantime. When you do recycle something incorrectly, it can cause perfectly good recyclables to not be able to be used. People hate this phrase, but I use it all the time. This seems counterintuitive to why we're all here, but when in doubt, throw it out. It will, in the long run, end up saving more recycling than if you're questionable about one item. I'm going to get into some references real shortly here about some things that common wish cycling items that you'd think were, but not. People think like garden hoses, ropes. As you can tell by that moving equipment, that would wreak absolute havoc on our equipment. So we get a lot of string, rope, hoses. Again, people are like, well, this is raw, you should be able to throw this away. You cannot. Pizza boxes is probably the biggest offender on the planet. I didn't know this until I started working here either. If you got a dirty pizza box, that goes in your garbage. I always tell people if the top's clean enough to salvage, tear off the top, throw that in the recycling. But if you got grease, cheese on that, that makes that cardboard no good. Do not throw that in your recycling. Styrofoam, another big contaminant in there. We just don't have the means through the single stream process. I know there's some places you can take block polystyrene. I know our friends out in Fitchburg have a recycling center that you can take block polystyrene to. So some cities, and I apologize, I'm not sure exactly if Monona accepts that and not at certain places. Glassware, I mentioned earlier, like you break a bowl or like a Pyrex container you're cooking or something. That is not recyclable glass. Ceramics, broken plates, none of that. And these are just, like I said, these are just some common, what we refer to as wish cycling items, where people want to recycle them. It's not out of laziness, it's out of trying to do the right thing. But contamination continues to be an ongoing struggle. We By default, 10% would be an ideal rate of contamination. Of everything that comes through our facility, we're at about a 15% contamination rate. So of all the recycling that comes in, 15% of that does end up at the landfill. We'd like to see that a little cleaner, but you know, like I said, it's not from stuff getting through, it's stuff being sorted properly out of there. So it's definitely not stuff being missed, but that's why it's really important to make sure you separate things. A lot of residents will call and be like, oh, we didn't pick up your garbage, something like that, because it was overstacked or the lid was open. We get a garbage can full of wet newspaper and boxes, that's no good to us. So part of the reason everybody says keep your lid shut on your garbage can isn't because necessarily we can't take a certain amount, we just need everything to be clean in there. And obviously keep from blowing around your neighborhood and keeping the place looking nice, but yeah, wet recycling is bad recycling. Obviously a can be wet, a glass can be wet, but that cardboard really wreaks havoc on that. There's a lot of people have questions about dangerous recycled materials. There's some really great resources out there. I know we have them on our webpage. Dane County has a great page, but a lot of things, like I'd mentioned before, broken glass, tanglers, ropes, hoses, those are garbage. But flammable fuels, solvents, Dane County Clean Sweep at the Dane County landfill can take a lot of those materials. Almost all your hardware stores can take things like light bulbs. I don't want a blanket statement, say everything, but most of those places can take things of that nature. I don't know a hospital or a clinic or even a lot of municipal facilities that don't have the ability to take things like needles, razors, things of that nature. So there is a home for a lot of these dangerous things in your trash as well. And again, I was just kind of touching base on this. If you haven't had the opportunity, on our website, we've got from David Pelletieri, who's actually the president now, as his father stepped down, and David and Danielle and Tim now run the company, the three of the siblings. We have over 40 real short, like 50-second videos on there, and they're just how to be a good recycler videos. Do I expect you to spend an afternoon perusing those videos? No, but it's a great reference and a great resource. Something that's wonderful on ours too, we do have a recycle right tool where you can go in and punch in anything and be like styrofoam, and it'll say not recyclable, but that'll also give you where you can take that to. And you can literally plug in anything, and I just encourage people to use that. It's a wonderful tool. It's on our website. It's on our app, which I'll talk about in a minute. But more resources, like I said, we have, and I don't know if all of you have gone on our website. If you just go to pelletieri.com, there's an actual whole homepage for the city of Monona, where it's got your information like what can be recycled, recycling tips, your schedule calendar, contact information. So you basically can just go to our website and there's a whole reference page just for the city of anything that you should or might want to know about. And Dane County, if you go on the Dane County landfill, they have a great search tool as well. Like you put in car battery, and it'll give you a list of 100 places sorted by distance where you can take a car battery to drop it off, things of that nature. So the resources are out there, and they're not as hard to find as a lot of people think they would be. They're pretty easy to get their hands on. We came out with recently a new app. I highly encourage anybody to download it if you haven't. It's just Pelletieri, again, brilliantly named. I came up with that one myself. But on it, you can not only set for service reminders, you can put in your day of service. I mean, Monona is everybody's serviced on Fridays, so it's not that big of a deal, but you know, with the every other week recycling, we've all been there, like, do I take my cans out? Are my neighbors right? Or are they the idiots? Am I the idiot? But you can set reminders, so it'll say, hey, your trash day is this day. We also have the ability and the technology moving forward for alerts on that. Trucks break down, weather gets really bad. Sometimes we just aren't able to finish a street. You know, sometimes, you know, a driver gets sick in the middle of the day or, you know, things of that happen. We have the ability to go onto a map, circle an area, and hit send, and you'll actually get a notification and be like, hey, leave your cans out. We weren't able to finish your route. We'll pick them up tomorrow. So it's a great notification system. And our Recycle Right tool is right on that app, which is what I use it for more than anything. So right on the Pelletary app, you can pull in. It's right at the main bottom of the homepage. Type in anything, and it'll tell you if you can recycle it or not. It's a really great app, and it's been really useful. But obviously, it's only as good as the information in it and how many people use it. But lastly, I just kind of wanted to give you just a quick summary. City of Monona proper, and this is based off of 4 months of hard actual data. You know, weighed trucks. So these are actual hard numbers. I multiplied it by 3 to give you a rough idea what a whole year would look like. But based on the first 4 months that we've provided service for you folks, in 2024, we have, over the course of the year, on pace to do 1,657 tons of trash. So about 3 million pounds of trash is what I'm pace for the annual for the city of Monona. So over 3 million pounds. On a monthly average per home, and this is based on our last month's numbers of home counts that we're physically picking up cans from, is 103 pounds per home that on average every household in Monona is throwing in their garbage. Broken down again, on pace to do about 1.1 million pounds of recycling, which is great. The average per home recycling average is about 36 pounds. So that's good. I believe you touched base on it earlier. That's very similar to that. About a third of your, you know, recycling about a third of your total weight now versus how it used to be in the past. That's pretty standard. We have seen communities. Monona's kind of right on the cusp. We get different feedback from our drivers, different weeks. Doing a great job recycling. A lot of overflowing recycling bins, which is, you know, it's, again, people are trying to recycle. We've seen a lot of communities go to weekly recycling. Obviously, that costs more. That's a city decision. I'm not here to pitch that to anybody by any stretch of the means, but, you know, down the line, that might be something that collectively a lot of communities are going to have to look at, which is a good thing. And the reason being, recycling is actually weighing less, but is more bulky than ever. Nobody's throwing away phone books anymore or huge stacks of magazines. Everything that used to come in a glass jar, 90% of that comes in a plastic jar. And I mean, let's be honest, how many times have you ordered a pair of glasses and they came in a box this big? It's, we're running out of space. So even though the amount of recycling is going up, the weight is actually going down, but it's gotten much bulkier. So that's a lot of the reasons a lot of places are going. Just overflowing recycling means, you know, junk on the streets, papers getting blown around. But that's, obviously it's not your job to know people's per home trash and recycling poundages, but for somebody with weekly trash and every other week recycling, that's very common. But like I said, I just wanted to show you hard numbers of actual city of Monona based on your population and the tonnages that we report to the city. But that's kind of what I wanted to touch base with here tonight. I do wanted to open it up for any questions as well. I know I'll touch base with the gentleman in the back. I brought up some things for show and tell here, and I'll just kind of go over. Again, I'll just kind of go through some of these things I did want to show you before I get into too many questions. This says recyclable right on it. This cannot go in your single stream recycling. We do not have the ability to sort this on your curbside recycling. This will have to find a home. There are several places. I know Reynolds, kind of on the east side over here, takes this, Reynolds Recycling.
There is a place in Monona that.
It's probably Reynolds. It's really close to right on the cusp over there. And we actually take, we do have recycling drop-offs that we actually take that stuff to Reynolds. So we are actually using them for the places that do have bulk drop-off, bulk polystyrene. You had a question about glass, I believe, or how clean something needed to be. I don't expect these to go in the dishwasher, but because of the way a lot of the lasers go through things and pick things out, not so much of the glass, but the plastics. I always tell people, rinse them out the best you can, put some water in, put the cap back on, shake it up, dump it out. Doesn't need to be scrubbed out. Something like a peanut butter jar, that's always a sticky one. Thank you, thank you. No, but it's hard, 'cause, you know, do we expect people to scrub out? A lot of people aren't going to do that. We can only ask people to do so much stuff. We do what we can, but things that are heavily covered in food contaminate the plastic more so than the glass. So we want it clean, but we don't expect it to be scrubbed out clean, if that makes any sense. Something like this, here's a salsa jar. I rinse it out a couple of times in the sink. I literally put the lid back on, shake it out, and throw it in. And my question I normally pose to people, can you recycle this jar just as it is like this? No. Yes.
You can with the lid on?
We would prefer the lid on. Through our sorting process, it breaks the glass down, and we'll separate the lid at that point of the recycling stream. A lot of times the lids, and don't get me wrong, they can go in. A lid like this has got a little more three-dimensional shape. What we run into a lot that is a problem, your classic tin cans, soup cans, that will go through like a piece of paper. And if you saw in the video how when it goes through the process, and we do a great job of, so don't get me wrong, not that it will, it has a potential to, if that makes sense. So we always tell people, take it out, give a little squeeze, and that's all you need to do. Don't crush them, don't worry about it. You don't have to take the paper off, that'll come off too in the process. If you want to, great, but you don't have to. Leave your lids on. Here's another perfect example. Kind of what wasn't recycled before, we can accept now. Leave that lid on there too. Even though that's plastic and this is OCC, it's we want lids on everything. Water bottles, lids on. Drink water bottle, lids on. Soda, anything like that. Yes, ma'am.
Is it okay to crush the aluminum bit?
Oh, absolutely, especially if you got like a 2-gallon milk jug. I usually kind of squeeze the air out of it and screw the cap back on. Like I said, we're more concerned, we don't want everything like crushed flat because it makes it harder to sort through our process. We want to keep that three-dimensional shape so when it's getting sorted, those things kind of fall backwards into the plastic and the metal and the aluminum section. Yes, sir?
Not just get crushed to crap in the trunk. They pack it in the trunk with 30 tons of pressure.
Correct.
Crushing there, so you're crushing it.
We are, there's a difference between it getting crushed down versus being hand crushed flat. I can assure you our trucks don't have that. When that comes out of the back of the truck, those are not, obviously glass things are getting broken, things of that nature. But cans, bottles, those are not being that flat as compacted as you'd think they would be coming out of the back of a truck. It's a little hard to tell, but if you jump on the beginning of that video, if you're bored and want to just check out that front, you can actually kind of see those getting dumped out, and you can see things in their shapes still coming out of the back of the truck. Here's a perfect example of something that is plastic. Again, these are a tangler. We don't want that in your recycling bin. We already touched base on this. This is one that I always get all the kids when I do some different programs and presentations. Everybody thinks they're recyclable. I can't take that. If this was, this is contaminated as well, but if this is clean, rip that off, recycle half, throw half away. But we cannot take this in the recycling stream. That is bad cardboard. We touched base on this earlier. Wow. Throw these in your recycle bin. Wow. We'll take all metals, we'll strip those metals down, and we'll recycle those.
Question on that one.
Yes?
A lot of pots and pans are coated with, all these nasty chemicals.
Those are separated out, and those are melted. When these are melted down for the metal that's in them, that is taken away. That is, like I said, Alter Metals does the actual breaking down of these and the melting of these down. But from what I was told, what I can gather, all that inside stuff is burned off. We don't do that at our facility. We separate this and send this to Alter to be the metal burned down on it.
So where do you draw the line between that and a brake drum? Like,
That and a, what'd you say?
you said not a brake drum, that's too heavy, those are 60 pounds.
Yeah.
I wouldn't expect you guys to sort that.
If they did come through, we'd pull it out, but that would also go to Alter Metals.
I could just take it there, that's fine.
Yeah.
But I was gonna say, where do you draw the line? Like, if my kid's scooter's all worn out, whatever it's made of 99%,
Scooter, something like that is going to be too big.
that's too big for your cycle? Okay.
That is. That's going to be too big.
Where do you draw the line?
We kind of say about a basketball.
So the toaster's about the biggest thing.
A toaster, anything about the size of a basketball. But yeah, you got an old broken, bottom half of a blender. You got a toaster. Throw that in your recyclable bin. There's plenty of good metals in there that we can strip out.
What about something like a toaster oven that has glass in it?
Toaster oven's going to be too big. Like I said, we kind of, as a rule of thumb, say about the size of a basketball. So, mixers, a toaster, things of that nature. That's just starting to get to be too big, and that's something you'd probably want to run over there yourself.
What's the difference between glass, a mirror or window, and glass, a jar?
Well, one I look at myself in and one I drink out of. That's a great question. It's the materials that are in it. I don't know what's on the back of the mirrors that gives it the reflective properties. I don't know if it's like the tempered of it or it's like same as like a glass top of a table that has the, oh God, I apologize, I'm not thinking of the words right. Window panes, how those are made, those are not recyclable, and I apologize, I'm not high enough up the chain from an engineer standpoint to give you the exact reason.
Just like plastic, they're actually made from different
Yeah,
types of structure.
when there's different materials integrated into those materials. It's kind of the same reason why a lot of the bags, and this is what I dealt with in the packaging industry for over a decade. I work with Whole Foods, Costco, some nationwide brands. Like if you go into Whole Foods and buy a 1 pound thing of almond flour, those were my pouches. I made all those pouches. We did 10 million a year for Whole Foods. Those are not recyclable pouches. And the problem is, because there's so many different layers. There's a laminate layer, there's some that have like a polywoven in them. And when you have different materials combined, there's no way to separate, like a polyurethane from a laminate from a nylon that might be woven into a package, which is the trouble with packaging right now. They have the means and the ability to make fully compostable, digestible bags, but the technology isn't there, but the price is. You think things are expensive now, if you got what might cost them $1 for that bag is now going to cost them $4. It's going to cost you $5 more for everything you're buying right now. So it's a sad circle, but until that technology and the price comes down, those things that don't go in a landfill still.
Why couldn't we go back to all glass, like refillable Coke bottles? Milk bottles.
That's a good question. It doesn't behoove us. We'd much rather recycle glass than plastic.
Like they would send them back.
Yeah.
I was in a lot of that, but they sanitize the glass and then refill it. Would that would.
They do that with growlers at some of my favorite breweries.
The breweries.
They do. I think it's a matter of cost and convenience and weight. We live in a society, what can I get faster, cheaper, lighter? And it's not a bad thing, but it's, I don't have a good answer for you. Because I can tell you this, glass is easier to recycle than plastic is. Exponentially easier.
What percentage of like the plastics that you guys are shipping out once they're cubed up, are you shipping any of those overseas?
None.
For processing?
Absolutely none. And there was a big push, and there were some articles written, like, is recycling worth it?
Yeah.
There was a big push of that several years ago, and it's a lot of false claims, but certain companies were. I can promise you nothing that we recycle goes overseas. I can say it with 100% certainty. There was a point where they were shipping all the random 3 through 7 plastics over to China to do who knows what. They quit taking a lot of those, so there was a little influx where we didn't have a home for a lot. Not we, I'm saying the United States and other countries, but we don't send anything overseas. Now, can I say that some things don't end up in the landfill? We're only as good as what we have a home for things. That's why we're always working with new companies like Brightmark, like how do we break down some of these materials? Yes?
One of your slides said that glass could be recycled forever.
Correct.
Never again. What about aluminum? Can that also be recycled in interval time?
I don't think so. I believe there is a certain point. What that is, I can't tell you. It's just one thing I do know about glass. That's a great question, and I would love to be able to add that to my slide for future presentations. I'd have to let you know. I do not know. I'd be lying if I told you right now.
And then my other question is, I know I have to fill my car frequently with oil, Canon oil, but the bottles say clearly number 2, but I know you don't want oil.
If those are empty, we will take those.
You will take
We will take
them.
those.
Lids on,
We'll take aerosol cans if they're empty.
really? So empty oil, I can,
Empty, even if it's a can off, as long as it's empty, we'll take it in the recycling bin. Paint, if the lids are off, and that is, my apologies, that is still garbage. We do not take paint cans. Nope, that would definitely be a Dane County Lands clean sweep sort of thing. We are, yes, sir.
How about coated paper, like a box of pre-cooked bacon?
No, we are talking like if you go to Costco and get where they've got the sheets, kind of like the almost parchment, the wax-coated parchment. Oh, God. I want to say no. I could double check on that and get back to you, but I'm almost positive that is a no.
Well, there's lots of different coated papers.
But like I said, we can take things like the kind of the wax-coated cardboard, these sort of things now. That's easily enough sorted out. That's a fine line because you're not going to wash the bacon off of those pieces of paper before you put them in there. So anything that has that kind of food contamination, we don't want.
But the coating on the paper is okay.
It should be.
what about these little foil things that come off the top of, let's say, yogurt?
If there's no yogurt on there, you can throw that in the recycle bin.
And foil, you want them, I know like I've seen people say for foil, you want it kind of crumpled into about a
Yeah.
ball size.
If you got a tin foil, last night, not that you care, anybody, but I made a nice big thing of salmon, and the top of it was tin foil. I didn't have anything over, crumpled that up, I threw that right in my recycle bin. I didn't have any food on it. The steam little thing like that, it was dry. When I put it in, it was dry, but there was no food on it. Yes?
Well, with all these paper boxes with labels stuck on them, do those labels gum up the machines like I hear?
They do not. We'd prefer no tape. I mean, we've all done that. You kind of have to take the tape off your boxes. If you can take that off, please do. That will still get recycled, and it will still pass once it goes through the entire system of what they'll take from a contaminant standpoint, the paper mills. But that kind of falls in the category, like I said. We get to the point where that paper isn't clean enough, they're not going to want it. Now we're going to have to find a new home for it. Yes, ma'am.
The plastic bottle there that has a label and a cap on it, I'm thinking maybe 3 different sizes or kinds of plastic.
These can go in just like this.
With everything.
It's, we try to make it as easy as possible on people. Just clean the junk out of it. Yes?
Plastic garden pots that plants come in, I know a lot of municipalities do not take those.
It's, I would say garbage. I mean, that would be kind of a case by
There's
case.
a lot of them over, like I said, land,
Yeah.
yard waste sites.
No,
You have
that would
some
be,
over there.
a garbage sort of thing, yeah. I don't know if we'd have a home for those. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I know Lowe's does.
I'm sorry, you mentioned that you don't want to get the cardboard or the paper wet, keep that lid
Mhm.
closed. I can't keep that lid closed, the wind picks up, boom, it's open all day long, when I come to pick it up, there's water in there.
Nothing's a perfect process. If the lid blows open, we're not going to not pick up the only way we'd blatantly not pick that up is if you had like clearly something sticking out of it, a pole we can't take, or, things laid across the top of it. We do trust our drivers to make that decision, whether they're going to pick up garbage or not. upsets a lot of people, but they do it for a reason. They don't want to get a can about here and have all the stuff drop off that's on top or sticking out of the top of a cart. And now they either have to get out and pick it up or get yelled at for leaving a mess out on the ground. Yes, ma'am.
So anxious to hear about the rest of the things and show and tell.
Well, here's one of my favorites.
Sure do. I want to hear it all.
This. Can you recycle this like this?
Yes.
No.
No.
I've been wanting to yell at you all day. I'm sorry. Take the lid off. This does have to go in the garbage. This is recyclable. This they want in the garbage.
Some of the lids do have a 2 or 3 number underneath them.
This is another one of those sort of things. McDonald's plastic glass. We still want straws and lids in the garbage. I told you to leave the lids on everything, or the screw caps. Here's my one exception for that. Your straws and lids, we would prefer to be in the garbage. I know it's a lot of rules, so I didn't come here to yell at everybody, but it's...
Better yet, you skip McDonald's.
Or you just skip McDonald's, there you go. Yes?
When you get a deli, okay, you'll have a plastic deli, and the bottom will be one number, and the lid will be another.
I guess I didn't understand. What are you talking about?
A deli container,
All right.
okay? You might have the bottom is a 1, and the lid is a, I don't know, a 5.
Oh, I got you. Like you're picking up some coleslaw at the grocery store or something like that. Throw the lid away and keep the bottom. The plastics are a little different than all of everything else. Versus this, we want the lids on. We want the lids on. We want the lids on. Oh, I did bring some peanut butter. Here's a perfect example.
Yes.
Like people are like, oh, that's pretty clean. This is like I said, this one kind of falls in the middle. I don't have a good answer for you.
Is that rinse enough to work for you guys or not?
We'd prefer it cleaner than that, but this is one of those, I don't want to discourage you, but there's just enough kind of food all over that. And what happens with that as well, when the light sensors shoot through here, it'll think it's a dark or a different kind of poly than it is. If it's covered in food, that clear glass might be separated. This bottle might be thought it was a dark instead of a clear container. But yeah, no, somebody kind of mentioned before, but like this is a bleach container. As long as it's empty, we will still take this. During the recycling process, not the sorting, but when it gets to the end user that's turning this into new product, that does get clean and melted down at that point. So little traces of stuff in here, you know, whether it's a soap bottle, again, rinse them out, dump this out, rinse it out. Laundry detergent, any of those containers can be recycled. Yes?
I have this question suggestion. You who had trouble keeping your lid on. I was wondering if you put some kind of a weight, attached or taped it on securely to the top of your lid on the inside, if it would hold it down, and if that would get damaged, cause a problem when you dump it.
That kind of falls under the wish cycling from keeping your lid on. And again, we want that to happen. Can we keep everything 100% the way we want it? Absolutely not. And if it's windy out and it blows over, it blows over. We're not going to refuse to pick that up on that account. Yes, sir.
Some wish cyclers would say all plastic is recyclable. Basically, it's only what you have here, like that tub, which is plastic, or some
Yeah.
plastic toy.
This is not recyclable. My plastic tub here. Now, and
Plastic toy or anything else. maybe?
correct. Well, and here's the thing, and it's like a common misnomer. Just because we can't take it through the single stream process doesn't mean that it's not recyclable. It just means that we can't take it at the end of your curb. Perfect example is the block polystyrene. We can't recycle that through the single stream process. It's like the grocery bags. If I had a dumpster that had 10,000 of these in it, I can take all of the same thing and recycle that. Stretch wrap. We work with a lot of companies. We have a place called our Emmett Street. It's on Emmett Street. It's another place. It's down at Emmett, but they do more corporate recycling. They work with companies. They do audits. We'll go in and be like, hey, you can, if we separate this from this, we can actually give you a credit back as a company. Like we're able to go in and kind of streamline that process. Like I said, stretch wrap. A lot of companies have unlimited amounts of pallets wrapped. Where normally at home that would have to go in the garbage. But again, if I've got a whole dumpster of that, I can recycle that. So that's where the fine line is and where the average consumer is pulled in so many different directions. Just because something has that neat little triangle recycle label on it doesn't mean it can get recycled. Like I always encourage people, look on our website, use that Recycle Right tool, go on the Dane County landfill site, has a great spot with locations to take. Heck, pick up the phone, you can call Pelletary and they'll do the best to help you out and tell you where to go. But this is designed to kind of tell you what you can put in your, at home, what you can put at the curb. Yes?
You talked about the laundry soap, but some of the laundry soap has those lids on it where you push the little button and it automatically dispenses the soap.
Throw that in the garbage and give me your base, yep. It's kind of the equivalent to a straw on a cup. Yes?
Ice cream, gallon ice cream.
If that's rinsed out and not full of, if that's able to be rinsed out, that can be recycled, absolutely. Yeah, yes, sir.
To the whole point of the stuff getting more bulky and whatnot, I think a lot of Monona has some pretty old recycle bins, somewhere like the 45 and the 65 gallon ones, not the 96 gallon ones. You only come around once a week for it. We talk to you, we talk to the city to get one of the bigger recycle bins.
You guys have City of Monona carts. The city owns the carts, or in a lot of the communities we bring in our own carts. I can double check. I can give you my card if you want, or you can just call in and they'll tell you.
We have, our wholesale has one of the 65 gallon.
Yeah.
Our recycle bin's actually smaller than our garbage bin.
Yeah, we'd like that the other way around.
What is the possibility of Monona going to every week recycling?
Some of my drivers would love that because we are right on the cusp of a lot of areas. Like, we don't want to not pick up the cans, but they're to the point where a lot of it's overflowing. It's an increased, cost. Whether that might be.
So that would be pressure on the city.
It's the city has to make that decision. And I believe in Monona, I can't quite remember if it's annual tax bill or quarterly utility bill, how every community works a little different, how they're billed for their trash services. But typically, if it'd probably add a few dollars a month per home. Because if we're currently going there for 6 times a month, now we were going there 8 times a month. So it'd probably be about a 25% increase in cost. Just from the service standpoint, those trucks are offensively expensive to run. But yes, we're, Windsor, Vienna, Middleton, Verona, all just as a handful of examples of weekly recycling. Yes?
Does it help the sorters to have anything in bundles, like newspapers in a bag?
We do not need that anymore because those would actually get broken down the way that they go through our system. We would actually prefer them not to be bundled.
Okay.
But yeah, like you said, back when you used to have to sort everything, they almost wouldn't take it if it wasn't bundled.
Okay.
So if you're like me, you had this string in the garage where you'd kind of cross it over and have to.
That's not helping anymore.
That is not helping anybody anymore. Actually, the contrary. Yes?
Would this be treated like paper in your single stream system? Should I crumple it or?
I would crumple it. And again, those are kind of on that fine line of stuff, depending on what's in it. Without seeing it, some of those and some of those films we don't want. That's garbage. But if that's actual just aluminum on there, there's no reason you can't just crease that up and throw that into your recycling bin.
And does the aluminum foil have to be a certain size? Because at one time I was told it was supposed to be a big thing.
No, we just don't want it in there like a piece of paper. Like if you had, like I said, last night, I had one thing just over a normal 9x12 cake pan that I was cooking some food in. That was clean. I made sure it didn't have any food on it. I crumpled it up. It was about this big. I threw it right in my recycle bin.
So that one little piece crumpled could go in.
Yeah.
The paper we keep flat now, right? My husband still likes to make basketball shots with paper.
You can. You can, but like I said, paper and stuff like that, we prefer just leave it as it is. And we say this about almost across the board with stuff. Try to keep stuff as close to its original shape as possible. Paper should be flat like paper, and You know, cans, bottles should be like something like this. If this is my house, I'd take that lid off, I'd kind of squeeze it about like that and put that back on just to give myself a little extra room. Or, like I said, a 2-gallon plastic thing of milk is a perfect example. Yep, we do accept shredded paper, like I said, as long as it's in a bag. Like here's an example. Here's some just torn up, you know, somebody had some mail. We will take this. And those guys in the line or gals will take these out and separate those.
Little paper-like receipts, like you get, does that come up?
I would throw those in the garbage. Especially that little, you know, you have a heck of a time even signing half the time. If you keep that all and put it in a bag with other paper, that would be great. If you just throw that loose into the recycling, that's going to be tough to recycle. Yes?
Mail, if I have a whole envelope, I usually just, if I know I'm getting rid of it, I look in to make sure it doesn't have a
Personal information?
plastic in it or anything like that. Can I just leave it
Yeah.
in the envelope?
Yep.
Even though
Mine, I don't bag all my junk mail. I literally just tear it in half once, just force a habit and no reason for it. Only thing I guess we do ask if you've got a lot of mail with like that plastic, like cellophane. Anybody that can take 2 seconds to rip that cellophane off and throw that in the garbage would be great. Is it going to ruin or contaminate all the paper? No, but enough of it over time can. We run into a lot of packaging questions, a lot of, I believe somebody had and we kind of go what we refer to affectionately as the tear test. If you got a bag and it kind of shreds apart or stretches and tears, this isn't recyclable. This is not. When this is combined and connected here, this bubble wrap inside of these papers, this is not recyclable. They're doing a little better job of coming out with some, any of these sealed air stuff are not recyclable. They are coming out with some stuff that almost has a styrofoam feel, but it's actually like a shredded up paper. They should have a little recyclable seal on them, even though just saying that kind of goes against everything I just told you, but it's, but some of those are. Anything with like a poly liner in it is not recyclable.
I was
Yes, sir.
gonna mention that, the Amazon envelopes that you get that are the bubble wrap stuff now, they do have a recycle symbol on the bottom that says store recycle.
Mm-hmm.
You can take them to, like an
Yep.
market or any place that accepts.
My assistant here has exactly what I was talking about. This is that new kind of, and like I said, see how this kind of tears and there's no paper in it? It feels like there's a kind of a rubbery inside, but that is paper. That is not foam in there. And these say, luckily and good on Amazon finally, it doesn't just have the little circle on it. It says recycled just like a box. So this can get recycled and go in your normal recycling. It's just anything with that plastic wrap that we don't want, that's in your hand right there. That isn't recyclable. This kind of anything bubble wrapped is not recyclable. That is not recyclable either. Anything you'd get delivered in a bag like that. And there is a home for this. Like I said, probably the same place you'd take your grocery bags, other paper, plastic bags. That there is homes for that, just not with me or any waste company for that matter right now in your recycle bin at the end of your driveway. There is a lot of places. There's a lot of. I apologize. I forgot a name before the presentation, but I mean, there's a lot of places in TerraCycling, like at the First United Methodist Church in Madison, in Wisconsin. They take things like, everything. Yeah, and I'm sorry. I mean, weird things that you wouldn't even think of. Old glue stick, the drink pouches you can't use, candy wrappers, snack bags, styrofoam. I mean, the list goes on and on. But if you go online, there's really a lot of great resources out there. People just take a couple seconds to look stuff up. But again, it pains me to say this. When in doubt, throw it out.
What the security packaging you get on these cans
Oh, like that blister pack sort of stuff? Yeah, no, toss it. Toss it. And toss the, that stuff is so when it's wrapped around a cardboard, that all just goes in the garbage.
How do you recycle books?
Unfortunately, you do have to take the covers off. If you can rip the covers off, we'll take the inside, unless it's a soft cover. Yes?
Overwrap can go to the grocery store.
I'm sorry?
Overwrap, like, if you have, some,
24 rolls of toilet paper.
yeah,
No, that is garbage.
grocery store.
Grocery stores would probably take something like that. But yeah, that is, unfortunately falls under not what we can take.
Do they really recycle it, do you know?
I would like to think so. I can't say for sure, but I would be surprised if they didn't. That's too big of a, that'd be really bad PR for anybody if you took stuff in and then just threw it in the garbage.
Well,
Any,
Dave, you have a couple more questions?
Well, we live in a condo,
mm-hmm.
and, they do recycling. Now, we do believe a lot of our condo members are illiterate, because that would require them to read.
Yes, yes.
Yes, and Arthur does a lot of work with them, so we don't think too many of them are capable of reading. But other than that, we try hard to help them out.
Well, I appreciate that.
They're very big into pizza boxes.
It's a, like I said, it's probably the number one.
Yeah. I have my knife, I cut him in half, very careful.
I appreciate that, sir.
And a lot of other stuff. I mean, it's incredible what they
Ah.
go into
Well,
the recycling.
And it's a lot of it is a matter of educating people, and you know, it's, I always joke like anything else. There's 10% of the people that are just go above and beyond, 80% of the people that do their best, and 10 people that just don't care.
No,
It's yes, sir.
What about a laundry detergent container that's contaminated on the outside with laundry detergent?
I guess I would just say please rinse that off. Laundry detergent, it shouldn't be like toxic to you to try to clean off anything like that. We prefer that just rinsed off, but we would still take that.
So I have to say, oh my gosh, how many people learned something new here? Isn't that incredible?
Okay, in that case, again, my name was Todd. No. Thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity to come out and speak with you all tonight. Like I said, I deal with 40 different municipalities. I'm constantly trying to do education programs at, whether it be from the schools or the city, at different council meetings. So thank you so much for your time, and also thank you for letting us serve your community.